So this is day 2 of pattern tables, and today we're going to add some graphing into our tables. So this should look a little bit familiar from yesterday. We talked about this problem with Jack and Javier, and in this problem we said that the rule was that J for Jack minus 4 is what we would do in order to find Javier. Now, we're going to switch from having this pattern table and the rule into what this looks like as a graphing situation. So we have two values. We have Jack and we have Javier. So on our graph, one of those values has to be on the x-axis and the other one has to be on the y-axis. So just to make it simple, for our pattern tables, whatever's on the top, we're going to put on the x-axis, and whatever's on the bottom, we're going to put on the y-axis. So down here at the bottom, we're going to put our label. And our label is Jack for the x-axis, and our label for the y-axis is Javier. Okay, so I already have this graph filled out with a scale from 0 to 36 for Jack and from 0 to 36 for Javier. Now we're going to take the data from the pattern table and we're going to graph it. So when Jack had 17, Javier had 13. So for Jack, I need to go over to 17, and if you look, my scale is 0 to 36, but my interval is 2. So it's 0, and then this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And the same thing happens on the y-axis. So I need to find 17. So 17 is between 16 and 18, so it's about right there. Okay? And 13 for Javier would be between 12 and 14, so about there. So we need to plot a point where 17 and 13 meet. So it would be plotted right about there. Okay? Our next value is 20 for Jack and 16 for Javier. So 20, 16, whoops, sorry. Let me erase that. Okay. So 2016 is plotted right there. And then we have 25, 21. So 25, 21 right there. And then 32, 28. So 32 and 28 is right there. Now, if we've plotted our points correctly, everything should end up being in a straight line. So let's look here. Let's connect the dots. And we have created a straight line. That straight line shows a relationship between Jack's values and Javier's values. And our relationship is that Jack always has 4 more than Javier. And that's the connection that the pattern table and the graph shows. So let's look at another example. Okay, so this is from yesterday also. We had Sheena, who is S, and Julie. We found that the rule was whatever Sheena has, we divide by 2 in order to find Julie. So let's graph this. Okay, so Sheena, so once again, we're going to put some labels. So Sheena's going to go on the x-axis, so this is Sheena, and Julie's going to be on our y-axis. Okay, so when Sheena had 6, Julie had 3, so plotting a point right there. Oops, sorry, 6 and 3. It goes right on the intersecting lines right there. Okay, when Sheena had 12, Julie had 6, so 12, 6. Okay, and we're going to have to add some information here. This would be 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. Okay, so when Sheena has 14, Julie has 7. Right there. And when Sheena had 20, Julie had 10. So it's right there. Oops, sorry, wrong one again. My fault. Let me erase. Okay, we have 18, 20, and 10. Okay, so 6, 3, 12, 6, 14, 7, and 20, 10. So we're going to connect that. Now, the reason this isn't perfectly matching up is because Mrs. Lehman made a mistake on her x-axis here. So hold on one second. Okay, we were going with an interval of 1. My fault. Sorry about that. So 12, 13, this would be 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So let's replot those data points. So 14, we have 12 and 6, 14 and 7, and then 20 and 10. Okay, so let me get rid of that line. Okay, so we're going to connect this now, and you're going to see that it is a straight line, which is what's supposed to happen. Okay, so according to this, the relationship is that Sheena always has 2 times more than Julie. We could reverse that and say Julie always has half of what Sheena has, but that's what the relationship shows according to the pattern table and the graph. Okay, so let's look at another example. Okay, so this should look familiar to you. This is from science class. You've been doing this in science, this type of graphing. This is from your boat experiment where you were measuring the capacity of the boat and doing the test to find out how many passengers could fit in the boat. And then drawing a line through your data, which should show a relationship. And if you did your test correctly, most of your points should be on the line or really, really close to the line. Because there's a relationship between how big a volume or capacity the boat has with how many passengers. The bigger the boat, the more passengers it can hold, and the smaller the boat, the less passengers. So that's what we're talking about here, relationships, and graphing that relationship and being able to identify the connection between the two different pieces of information. Okay, so we have an X and Y table here. We have our values for X and our values for Y. According to this table, our rule would be X plus 4. So whatever is X, if we add 4 to it, we're going to get Y. So we're going to graph this information. So because it's X and Y, the X value is going to go on the X-axis and the Y value is going to go on the Y-axis. So we have this is our X and this is our Y-axis. Okay, so when X is 3, Y is 7. So plotting our point right there. When X is 4, Y is 8, plotting our point. When X is 5, Y is 9. And as you can see, there is definitely a straight line shooting right through those pieces of information. So what could our relationship be? Well, according to this graph, it shows a relationship. The pattern table, when we look at it, we can use our rule to help us figure out a relationship. X is always 4 less than Y. Or we could say that Y is always 4 more than X. Okay, so next we're going to fill out our trifold for today. So we're going to go through this and look at each example and fill it out as we go. Okay, so number 1 says continue the pattern. Well, if the rule is add 2, then we're going to start with 2 and we're going to add 2 more. So this would be 4, 6, and 8. This side here says the rule is add 4. So I start with 4, so I add 4, I get 8, I add 4, I get 12, and then I have 16. So now we're going to write this out as a set of ordered pairs. So this is 2, 4 coming from here and here. Okay, and now we're going to write our next ordered pair, which is 4, 8, and then 6, 12, and 8, 16. Okay, now we graph it. So using our knowledge of graphing and ordered pairs, this is going to be X, this is going to be Y. So we start with 2, 4. So at 2, 4, we're going to graph a point. At 4, 8, we're going to graph a point. Sorry, my stylus isn't working. At 6, 12, we're going to graph another point. And then at 8:16, we are going to graph a point. Okay, now, graphing and labeling the ordered pairs. So next to each of these ordered pairs, we would write, next to each of these points, we would write what the ordered pair is. So that's 2, 4. This one is 4, 8. This one is 6, 12. And this one is 8, 16. And then we would connect this with our line. And that line shows that the relationship that y is always 2 times greater than x. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to question 4. Juan and Mike are creating patterns. Juan uses the rule. Sorry. Okay. Juan uses the rule. Add 5 and starts at 2. Mike uses the rule. Multiply by 3 and he starts at 4. Okay. So if we look at that pattern, we're going to start with Juan. Sorry, Juan. We're going to start with Juan. Okay, we're going to find his pattern and then we're going to do Mike. Okay, so Juan starts at 2 and he's adding 5. So 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 5 is 12, plus 5 is 17, and we could keep going. But we're going to go to Mike now. He uses the rule multiply by 3 and he starts at 4. So 4 times 3 is 12, 12 times 3 is 36. Okay, so our question is, what is the first number in Juan's pattern that also appears in Mike's pattern? At this point, we can identify what that is because 12 is the first one that appears in both of the patterns. Okay, question 5. William and Henry are creating patterns. They both start at 1. Continue the pattern. So William's pattern says that his rule is multiply by 4. So his first number is 1. So if he's going to multiply by 4, then his next second number is 4. And then if he continues multiplying by 4, it's 16 and then 64. William's pattern is different. His pattern is to add 7. So his first number is 1. It's going to add 7 to that, it's 8. Add 7 more, it's 15. And then add 7 more, we end up with 22. Okay, question 6. We're going to complete the table. So in the table, we know what point X is, and we know what point Y is. So we're just going to write that out as an ordered pair. So that's 1, 2, 3, 6, and 5, 10. And now for number 7, we're going to plot those points onto our grid. Okay? So A is at 1, 2. So we're going to put a point at 1, 2. B is at 3, 6. And C is at 5, 10. Okay, and then we're going to draw the line to connect those together. And there it is. Move that over a little bit. Oops. There we go. And connect those dots. Now that we have that graphed, we need to look at what is the relationship between those corresponding terms. What's happening between X and Y? Okay, so that's question 8. So we're going to move down here. And question 8 says, explain the relationship between the corresponding terms. Well, I have to look at the pattern and figure out what is the pattern from 1 to 2, from 3 to 6, and from 5 to 10. Well, 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6, and 5 times 10. 5 times 2 is 10. So the relationship is that I'm going to double the X value to get